Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
Now, Mohammed-Aslim, Zafis, you went to the funeral yourself and saw, many of the mourners there. What are your impressions and thoughts on what happened to him?
Well, it's a very grievous situation for the Muslim community and for me personally to be there and to see everyone in grief, especially his family members, his mother fainting there under the heat as we held the services in the open air under the midday sun. But obviously she succumbed more to the grief than to the heat of the sun. And so what happened to him? As we know, he was there controlling the entry into the mosque to comply with COVID-19 restrictions. So he was performing a good community service, helping not only Muslims, but helping us Canadians in general to keep the COVID-19 infections at a low number. Mm-hmm. And he was there usually with another person, but the other person just went to use the washroom. And that person said to me, in just the 3 minutes that I left to go and use the washroom, when I came back, I found my brother there bleeding. It was quite traumatic for that person in particular and for others who were close to him. The Imam had actually just spoken to him, and he told the Imam, he reminded the Imam that there is a family of new Canadians who could use some food, and some food should be saved for them. So the Imam went to the kitchen to conserve some food for that refugee family. And it is in this time, when he was just alone for just a few minutes, that the attacker came by and stabbed him in the neck.
Mm-hmm. He died doing a very noble act, kind of protecting people and, guarding the entrance of the mosque. So it wasn't like he was doing something, harmful or bad and he passed away. He actually died doing something very good.
Yes. And it is just so sad that he died in such a horrific way. Those who were on the scene, the volunteers who came and quickly surrounded him, the Imam, they didn't know what to do, and they just saw the blood gushing out, and the paramedics rushed to the scene, police came to the scene, everybody tried to do what they could do to save him. But as we say in the Islamic tradition, قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. God has determined, and what he decides prevails. So I'm not saying that God planned his death to be like this, but I'm saying that that's what we can simply fall back on. So if we ask, how can we as a community cope with this? One way of Muslims coping is by falling back on the idea that God is in control of all affairs, and he does not let such a bad thing happen except for some redeeming factor in it. And the redeeming factors here are many, and just his death actually coalesced the community in a way that I haven't seen previously. At his service, we found that there were people representing a wide variety of faiths. A rabbi spoke, and a Christian pastor, a Hindu pundit. So the representatives of various faiths, all expressing their grief and their shock at the passing of this one person. Yes, he was one person, but now he has become a symbol and a rallying point for people to think together about hate in our community and as a Canadian society, and violence, and how to eradicate hate and violence from Canadian society and from the world.
Mm-hmm. I guess we also have to think about the fact that, there are all these volunteers doing good things in the mosque, and sometimes they don't get recognized or praised or supported or even protected in this case. But they're doing amazing things, and they need to be understood and recognized.
Yes, volunteers are actually putting themselves there on the front line.
They're the lifeblood.
Yeah, and not only are they performing services, but they are actually putting themselves in the line of fire, let's put it this way. I mean, when this happened, I became fearful for our volunteers at our mosque, because as they too are standing at the door controlling entry to limit the numbers in accordance with restrictions laid down by government authorities and also prescribed by medical experts. So they're there in the front line, and if an attack should happen on our mosque, something like what happened in New Zealand and prior to that in Montreal, in Quebec rather, in Quebec City, then these would be the first persons to be hit. So they are really performing very important services, and their contributions need to be recognized and acknowledged and praised.
Dr. Shabir, if you could offer some words of sympathy and wisdom to the family of the deceased, the family of Mohammed-Aslim, what would you say?
What I would say is what I said actually at the funeral ground to them, that this brother, Mohammed-Aslim Zafis, has actually joined a long line of historical figures in our ummah who have actually been killed in a violent way while they were serving the community. Omar, the second caliph of Islam, was stabbed when he came and prayed in the mosque. Ali, the fourth caliph of Islam, was also stabbed when he prayed in the mosque the early morning prayer. And so he has actually joined this legacy of martyrs and shuhada in the cause of God, and we pray that Allah will resurrect him on the day of judgment in the company of those great savants of the faith.
We'll leave it at that, but we'll continue to pray for Mohammed-Aslim. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.